How much has CFS affected your writing, and how much of it came as catharsis for dealing with CFS?
Well, CFS had a big impact because I tried so hard to imitate Dave Barry and be the funniest person on the planet in order to attract friends when I was actually stuck in bed, that I wrote up all of my adventures out on the West Coast, accidentally helping to start the 60s in episodes, and sent them out one episode per week to my friends. And when I was finished, I had an entire book, How I Accidentally Started the 60s. And that book, Timothy Leary read it. Not that I'd ever met Timothy Leary, I hadn't, and said that it's a monumental masterpiece of American literature, and it's filled with scientific comedy routines, wow, woo, aha. It's nonstop waves of hilarity, and he compared it to the works of James Joyce. So apparently it helped when it came to that book. Then I was able to finish The Lucifer Principle. I was halfway finished when the illness struck. And I was going into the office very early in the morning and working until 10:30, and then going back to my work on music publicity. And that was working for me. But obviously being sick gave me sometimes more time, depended on whether I could sit up or whether I could think, whether I had the strength to do those things. It ripped me away from libraries. It made research difficult. I bought the books that I needed for the most part. And the internet was just really getting into shape. And I used it for a library for all it was worth, even though there were very few books to be found on it back in those days. My third book, The God Problem, sorry, got to keep these books straight. Global Brain, The Evolution of Mass Mind from the Big Bang to the 21st Century. That one was written while my wife was divorcing me. It was a hideous period, absolutely hideous. And I learned that if I write in rhyming couplets, it's as if I'm keeping myself company. It gave me a certain sense of comfort. So I wrote most of the book in rhyming couplets. And that may be why the Washington Post says that it's beautifully written, because these are hidden. They look like text. They look like normal prose. They're not. The book is written in poetry. And let's see, my next book, The Genius of the Beast, I wrote most of it after I began. No, that book really started when I was doing an interview in 1999 to give a video speech at the Cathedral of St. John the Divine for the 300 biggest CEOs in Silicon Alley. And that interview began to create the book. So I wrote 3 books while I had CFS. I've written a total of 6. 4 of them have been published. And every one was an adventure, but one thing that the books gave me, when I first got CFS, I had recently, when I first came up with CFS, read a research report in which it said that when people are hit with serious problems, if they've had 8 threads out to life, they do okay. If they've had only 4 threads, it's very likely that all of those threads are broken. They do not do okay. The more interests you have and the more lines you have out to life, the more likely you are to survive something totally unexpected. Well, every single one of my lifelines was cut, with the exception of one, and that was my books. And it's my books that allowed me to pull through the illness. They gave me a reason to be alive, and they gave me an identity. They gave me a reason to wake up every day, and they gave me work to do every day. And that was essential in dealing with the illness. That's more the influence of the books on the illness than the influence of the illness on the books. But that's the way it was. You have to pull yourself out of the pit.